Hey there folks, and welcome back to game 3 of this 3,000 subscribers extravaganza that we've been having so far. We've had two fantastic games between TH and Nicker. If you haven't watched those games already, go and watch them right now. Absolutely, I insist, because those two games were just so fantastic. And hopefully you will now be gone, because it is a best of 3, which means that it's one apiece. The person who wins this will take the series in the ECL, and TH sending out a very early militia scout. It looks like we're going to be having a tavern build coming first from Nicker, and TH going for a much more standard build by the looks of things. And there's a couple options. Dark Ranger is very popular, but TH so good with that Mount King, as we saw last game, that maybe that's going to be something that Nicker's going to be worried about. But this peasant's now going to be putting up a farm just in Nicker's base, going to really be able to scout when that tagging's going on. Less important on this map than it is on Terranistan to do this, so it is a bit easier to scout what they're doing. But still, it's pretty important. And also, the fact that TH scouted that this Ancient of War is going up is going to mean that he can go and scout out what hero is being picked up by Nicker. And it looks like we will be having these wisps all being put, you can see, in really hard to hit places like this tree here, where you can't just get like a footman to come in and attack it. You do need to have some ranged unit, something like that. And so if we do get the Archmage out, ooh, TH stopping building his altar, he might be going for a tavern build as well. Or game 3 might be tavern hero versus tavern hero. Wouldn't that be amazing? I very much doubt that was a mistake, because there's not too much else for TH to be doing at this point. And so I imagine he'll be going for tavern hero first. You know, first archer is already out for Nicker. You notice that he built his Ancient of War in his base, actually putting down just his altar now. But because he put that up in his base, it means he's probably not going to be going for any early scouting, which maybe is actually good to give TH more information than Nicker really needed to, because in that case, sort of, it suggests that it's going to be one that's more harassment based, so probably unlikely to be Dark Ranger, maybe more likely to be Panda, something like that. TH, maybe, I think he's probably doing this fake hero thing to make it look to Nicker like he's building a hero, whereas in actuality, he does have a footman here, and so actually both players will be popping out a hero very shortly. Dark Ranger, ooh, Dark Ranger is actually being picked up here for Nicker after I was saying this unlikely, and oh, TH now running away. That's odd, unless he's going to do a circle and hope to trick him. Yes, he is. Look at this. Very smart play with this footman. Going to run back in. What hero will he pick up? I was going to say Tinker could become a Panda. Interesting choice there by him, because the Panda, not really too useful. Maybe it could be helpful against all those skeletons, but that's not really the huge thing you have to worry about in this situation. We'll have to see how TH wants to play it. I'm sure he has some unique style that he's been honing in on without letting Nicker in the loop. But look at this, Nicker gonna scout out the Panda, and immediately he's gonna have so many different plans formulating in his head, and TH going for some much more aggressive creeping, because he does have those militia, and because he does have that Panda, which is very, very good for creeping, much better than the Dark Ranger when you have no skeletons. But once you get these skeletons up, then Nicker can really start to do some big creeping. And there's actually, he could send some of the skeletons, because he does have 3 here. He could send a couple of them to just start taking down this farm, and if he does that slowly over time, it means he doesn't have to actually commit any of his unit time, which is really not something you want to be doing. And Nicker now going for some big creeping here. Nice that he can creep a camp with 5 creeps. That means he gets 5 skeletons here, assuming he focuses properly. But I mean, it's Nicker, he will be able to focus properly, and at that point he can maybe send some in to do some harassment. And look at this, a Tree of Life going down here for Nicker. Not a place TH is necessarily the most likely to scout. Obviously here is where you normally scout for it, but it could be quite good for him. We'll have to see whether or not he can get it up, because it is possible for a human to cancel that sort of thing fairly easily if they do discover it. And Nicker now going to get pretty close to level 3 as well, picking up a Scroll of the Beast. Not the best item for him, but TH now at level 2.5 himself, and picking up a boots and a staff. Going to be going for some harassment. If you get level 2 Breath of Fire, you can absolutely destroy wisps if they're clumped together, but as we saw earlier, Nicker had actually spread this around, so there's not going to be any of those TPing into the base and then just doing some shenanigans like that. And we do have TH now going for this expansion here. He does need to be very wary of those skeletons, because they can harass so well. And look at this camp Nicker's dealing with. Not only is it TH's camp, but it has so many creeps and so many skeletons, which are so close to this expansion, which is going up here for TH. Very, very nice play here by Nicker. And we do have this couple towers now going up, and actually this creeping being scouted out, and TH now going to need to react immediately. Gonna need to bring his Panda home. He's even snapping it in. So many low units here that can be hit by that Breath of Fire, and looks like Nicker not going to commit his archers and all, sending them home, and just going to keep his Dark Ranger here, hoping to get level 3, as well as all the skeletons, which are pretty disposable. and Nicker Mino does have this Ancient of War, or this Tree of Life just about to finish. Level 3 now hitting for Nicker as well, who just going to be able to get some fantastic skeletons in to do some harassment here in a second. And we do meanwhile have the Panda clearly not being able to do the maximum creeping because he just needs to be defending his base or his expansion from the oncoming aggression. And meanwhile, we do have Nicker has started his tech. Obviously, TH not starting it yet because humans really like to delay that nowadays, especially if you have especially if you can buy things like Troll Berserkers and Shadow Priest, which TH has been doing very, very well. I mean, it looks like one archer will go down because the Panda with boots is fast enough at least to chase down an archer, and does actually go down. He could have hidden that archer, but instead he decided to waste a lot more of the Panda's time, and that was probably a good decision. Oh, huge run there by TH, bringing that 1 footman up at the last second means that this Dark Ranger gonna have to TP away, and that's so bad. Hopefully Nicker, we can see bringing his skeletons away so that he can bring them back in, but that is so bad for him there, because he did even have these this Huntress here, which was just gonna do some more harassment, but having lost his Dark Ranger, he couldn't stay in this battle for any longer. And meanwhile, we do have TH now in the base of Nicker, getting off a Breath of Fire by the looks of things, and trying to close down on this Dark Ranger. Actually, Dark Ranger just walks past him, heals up a bit because TH knows he can't get in the hits before the healing comes, and now doesn't need to be worried because the surround with Huntresses is pretty easy to get if you move against trees or anything. So TH now being careful. He does have the staff as well, bear in mind, but still you don't want to be forced to use it when that means that you're just going to be prevented from doing any sort of harassment for a long time. And TH's army could do a fair bit of damage here actually moving in. He does have the 2 Shadow Priests as well as the Berserkers. That's decent DPS as well as level 2 Breath of Fire, which we did just see there. 2 Wisps actually coming down, could be cut out by this Panda, but it looks like they do actually a bunch of Wisps here could be taken down by TH if Nicker doesn't respond immediately. He might want to go for just some detonates there, and we do have one of them being taken down, a couple more on the other side, but it looks like TH actually TPing back to his shop just so he can buy some items presumably, and then try and come back in once he has more mana, because a Panda without mana is not too useful at all. And meanwhile, we will be having Nicker hitting tier 2 now, and not yet making any use of it really. Could pick up a second hero. It looks like he actually has. He's picked up a Naga, like an interesting choice there by him. Gonna be a really good single point damage focusing power, especially with the slowing arrows of the Naga as well. But at the same time, he will need to be wary of the potential for losing his heroes if they're out of position, like they are somewhat now, because these Huntresses need to be in the front. Looks like one archer will go down. TH gets silenced there. Nice play there by Nicker. Gonna stop the Breath of Fire from coming in, which can be so brutal to those archers. There it comes there, though. You can see these archers immediately lose a huge amount of health, and 1 footman will go down for TH. No, he didn't. I think he denied it there. Very, very nice play there by him. Obviously, Nicker still gets the skeleton, but still. And actually, look at that. Nicker actually killing off his own archers just so that TH can't get the experience from the oncoming Breath of Fire, which is very, very likely to happen soon. Although actually now that there's a bunch of high hit point units, it's less likely. TH now coming in with more mercs, and Nicker taking a whole bunch of damage from the creeps. Huge play here by TH. This is very, very nice. The Dark Ranger are taking a lot of damage, plus 20 damage on that Dark Ranger because of the claws and the Scroll of the Beast. But now look at this, couple hunters is being focused down. The Naga now on the run, and this expansion could be in a lot of trouble because there's just so many mercs coming in here from TH. This is really why humans love to do this, sticking at tier 1. Look at even a Mugglum coming in now as well, and we do have the Dark Ranger has managed to heal up, but the Panda is still putting on a lot of pressure there. That farm is still in the base of Nicker as well. Bear in mind that another Huntress goes down, and now the Entangled Gold Mine going to be focused down, and we'll get a bit of mining done first, but bear in mind TH is going to be massively out mining Nicker at this moment. Even staffs to the harassment at the expansion, and these Wisps are quickly loaded in so they can't be attacked, and we can see he just needs to quickly be loading them in and dropping them out, and just doing that constantly and trying to avoid the Breath of Fire, which can come fairly soon once TH has enough mana to take them out quickly, because otherwise this is just going to take a bit too long. And actually some more Wisps being brought in now. Nicker looks like he's trying to get off the repair, but it's failed. He loses that gold mine, and now this Nog actually needs to be very, very careful. He's on the run, could be slowed with this Mugglum. Yes, he does. The Mugglum just gets there in time. Noggin now down to 20 health, and always staffed home by that Dark Ranger at the last second. Fantastic play there by Nicker, and now he will be able to turn around. He does have a couple Dryads out, which are going to be so helpful. If he doesn't have a abolish magic, but still you can do so much damage if you just don't focus and hit every unit once. Then that's just so painful. And TH, even with these 3 Shadow Priests, will struggle to heal that up. And it looks like we do have this Panda Panda being chased away. One footman will probably go down to the slowing effects of those Dryades if the Dryades aren't pathed too badly, but it looks like they will be able to get there in time, and this entangled gold mine will be rebuilt in time. But still, that's a huge cost here for Nicker. But still, that staff there on that Naga was so nice. But it does mean that the Nicker is just so low on moon juice, because he's been under such constant pressure that he did have to use this moonstone, which is always a bit unfortunate. And it looks like one Ancient of War actually being uprooted to finally take out this one farm from TH. And now Nicker at 42 food, TH at 40, so pretty equal food counts. But bear in mind that TH still just on solo Panda. Be interesting to see if he goes for a second hero. You can try and stick with just one hero, though he's bought a couple scrolls of healing, which might mean that he's actually going to be going for a second hero quite soon. Ooh, he's going for an Archmage second as well as taking the tier 3, putting up a bunch of towers. But that Archmage second really interests me, because there's already Dryads out. So Dryads, such a good counter to the Archmage that it must be mainly for mana aura. And it looks like this Invisible Panda now coming in, going to be looking to maybe turn around now that he realizes that the army's coming towards him. But these couple towers are going to be so effective, especially with one masonry upgrade. The Dryads and Huntresses both take bonus of damage, and it looks like this Panda going to get off a pretty good breath of fire. There could have been slightly better, but bear in mind he can't hit the Dryads anyways. And so TH now going to be looking to maybe do a bit more harassment here on this expansion with some mercs later on. That would be pretty nice to do while Nicker is so engaged here, especially considering he only has one staff as well, and just staffing either one of these heroes home isn't going to do a good bit of defense. But it looks like instead TH is going to use his army just to actually chase Nicker around, and I think that's probably not the best use of his army. I think a bit of harassment could be better at this point, but it looks like we do have Nicker. We can see that he has, not only does he have 3 calls of attack on his Dark Ranger, means he has plus 18 damage before he gets the extra damage from Black Arrow, but he doesn't have any scrolls of healing or anything, because TH has been stealing them all, finally buying one invuln pot, but he really has been denied access to that shop, which is just such a huge element of this map. Meanwhile, the Panda now coming in, such good items on this Panda, but there's not too much just a solo Panda can do. If you can't force the Wisps out of the mine, then there's you really have to rely on having other units with the Pandas to really be able to do anything. But it looks like an Ancient of Wind now going up for Nicker as well. If you're on 2 bases, you can afford to do that, and Breath of Fire goes off, hitting 3 buildings, including 2 moon walls. But this Ancient of Wind probably not going to be cancelled, probably can be saved, and TH using this time to creep up his Archmage, going to want to be getting at least level 2, because he's gone for Water Elemental. First, look at this, he's being forced to TP home, but he's actually TPing to his army, which means he's actually going to limit the amount of experience that this Archmage gets. Maybe he's hoping for level 5 on his Panda as well, but still, it seems like level 2 on that Archmage could be pretty useful, just so that this Panda doesn't have to keep on using Clarities and Mana Potions like he's been using so far to great expense. But this Dark Ranger now going to move in, and not too much damage that can really be done here. TH putting up a couple Arcane Sanctums as well as a Workshop, so he could be going for that very strong caster in the Mortar Team army, especially considering we did see that he has gone to do tier 3 as well, which is something he didn't do in game 1, and I think that really cost him when he tried to go for this similar army composition. And we do have the Naga now being taken down to very low health. Does have an invuln pot use, but the Archmage now is so vulnerable because it is only level 1, is focused down. Very nice play there by Nicker, and managing to keep that Naga alive with that invuln pot proved to be so crucial in that battle, just because the Naga can then slow down everything as well. Very nice, and now a Fairy Dragon even out for Nicker as well, and that's just going to be so useful against all those casters as well as against the mortar teams, because you can just get them into the right position and start focusing them down pretty quickly. And now this Panda actually running pretty poorly, does actually take down one Wisp there, but it's not the biggest win, but still he probably will have a lot of mana in the future once his Archmage is level 2 and revived as well. So we do now have a black powder upgrade actually now coming for TH, so he is going to be committing very heavily, I think, to mortar teams. It's unlikely he's going for anything else really at this point. Tanks not too useful. Tome of Experience fantastic there for Nick. Are going to be getting very close to this level 3 as Naga now, and that level 3 can be very useful in this situation. A bunch of Dryads, 1-0 upgrade on the Dryads are down here, maybe just looking to catch TH out if he just sends his units down. Obviously there's not much you can do to trap Dryads. They're pretty quick and you can't slow them or anything, so you do need to really get a good surround or nothing. And actually this Panda managed to sneak by. If the Fairy Dragon got hit, it could have cancelled this Clarity, but now we do have the Hunters actually joining up, so maybe we're going to be seeing an attack. Oh, this could be a great creep jack if Nicker realizes what's going on, and looks like yes he does. He's going to move in immediately, going to be able to get some experience from the dispelling of that Water Elemental, and then now TH going to immediately be forced to TP out, but he's very fortunate unfortunate that at no point did he actually aggro the creeps. He would have taken 3 times as much damage had he done that, and then Nicker can just come and creep out this camp, and he does have a TP and actually has very good items now, 2 scrolls of healing, an anti-magic potion, really very, very nice items, and 2 staffs as well. So Nicker now with a strong lead in terms of items, I think, but still, we'll have to see how much harassment can actually be done. But here, looks like actually a bunch of wisps were just killed by a breath of fire just as I came in here. Only 2 wisps left, but more being reproduced by Nicker now, and there's a panda now finally taking a bit of damage. Nicker does need to be very careful. Either he needs to spread out his wisps when he does this repairing, and another one actually being taken out there, but only one, unfortunately, which is not the most efficient use. But I think either you need to spread out your wisps, or you need to pop one out and then do some repairing, and then hope that you can get away with that by the time your army gets back. Nice dodge of the breath of fire there, really forcing TH to waste a lot of mana, and now the Naga coming in as well. Bear in mind there is still a staff teleportation here, so TH can still get away. Oh wow, huge breath of fire there, gets all 3 wisps, and then is now going to definitely be happy to get away with this level 5. Very, very nice play there by TH, who now does have 1-0 upgraded mortar teams as well as a couple priests, but really does need to get on a couple breakers as well, I think, at this point. Putting up another workshop though, so maybe he's going to be switching into something else. He is at 55 food, so he should be producing units. Yeah, going for a mortar team now. Meanwhile, Nicker at 64, so Nicker going to be going really full out. 2 Agents of Wind now, a bunch of Fairy Dragons as well as a Hippogriff as well. That's pretty good for scouting actually, as we saw in last game. It can be, even if your opponent doesn't actually have any air units, just it's so quick, such a fast unit that you can see what's going on. Pretty cool. Oh my god! Mountain Giants being used by Nicker. Wow, crazy army composition here by him. I'm not sure about this at all. Let me think about this for a second, because it's gonna be they're gonna be great against the panda, because the panda does area of effect damage. They'll be alright against the mortar teams as long as they can because they won't clump up too much, things like that. They'll do the flying machines are now being built, which they're obviously not going to be great against. But it's an interesting choice, certainly. The problem with them, or one of the problems with them, is that you can't really heal them up, because you can't use rejuvenation, because it takes 4 rejuvenation to heal up a Mountain King to full health. You can't really use Moon Juice, because it takes like 200 Moon Balls to heal up a Mountain Giant to full health. So you do basically have to accept whatever damage you take on them, and Scrolls of Healing have less of an effect. But combining them with Drides, it's interesting. I'm not sure it's optimal. I don't 100% see the advantage over theirs, but maybe we'll see something interesting with picking up trees and using them for siege damage and then running away or something like that. Maybe if you did that in combination with staffing. They do have 2 attack upgrades already, so decent number. But we're shooting a lot of Fairy Dragons as well, which is sort of a weird mix of sort of this super strong tanks of the Mountain Giants combined with the decent DPS, as well as the nice focusing power of the Fairy Dragons, which is obviously something the Mountain Giants can't do at all. But now we even have a Knight being produced here by TH, but these the Sorks not going to be too useful here. They are master trained though, so we could be seeing some polymorph, or that could just be so that they have that extra maximum mana. We'll have to see how he wants to be using them. In this situation, there are a whole bunch of Dryads still left, and all of them are probably still have full mana at this point, because we've only had a couple of dispels. And look at this, Flying Machine's actually having Inner Fire cast on them. Casting Inner Fire on mortar teams is so good as well. Ooh, Breath of Fire being used. Did he actually kill anything there? I don't think he did. I'm not sure what that was. Oh, maybe he was spamming F for Inner Fire and accidentally clicked it on the panda. I'm not sure if that was his mistake there, but it's a weird mistake. Paladin being the 3rd hero of choice, obviously, for TH. A strong 3rd hero, as we saw last time, but a lot of those Inner Fires immediately being dispelled. But bear in mind, only 4 dispels per Dryad, and only 5 Dryads, so only 20 dispels, and there are going to be a lot of slows, and maybe some polymorphs, who knows. Very interesting army composition. The Hippogriff's now chasing down these Flying Machines immediately. A lot of detonates going off. That's really going to save a lot of mana for the Dryads, and a nice use of Taunt, and a combination actually of Taunt and pathing blocking by that Wisp. Managed to kill that Archmage, and then the detonate goes off as soon as the panda tries to engage it. Really nice play here by Nicker, really making very strong use of his of these unusual units, things like taunt, stuff like that you don't really consider. And the Paladin now still only level 1, so no Divine Shield, does have a healing scroll if he needs to use it, but he doesn't use it because it's just too expensive and is taken down. And meanwhile, we do have Air Domination now finally for TH, and bear in mind these Flying Machines, no bombs though, so they can only take down these Fairy Dragons, and then their sort of uses 3-1 upgrades now done for Nicker. But it looks like we do have these Mountain Giants in the front, just doing so much damage and taking so much, and they're just so tricky to take down at 1600 health. It's like 60%, or it's like 50% more than an Abomination, which is basically the ultimate tank. And looks like we do have this one breaker taunted and then taken down. Very, very nice play here by Nicker. Really, really playing this so well. You see these mountain giants did pick up trees as well, which just means that they, in case you don't know, which is perfectly fair, for a limited number of attacks they do siege damage, which is decent against some types, but certainly not against breakers or knights. You want them you want that for against the casters and stuff. And I mean, it looks like we do have another attack here by th. th now with 4 mortar teams in the back, only 1-0 upgrades on them, and no upgrades on his knights, no animal war training for his knights either. But we do have th now moving up, still level 1 as Archmage. I think that's a huge problem for him here. And his paladin not yet in the battle, but certainly could be back by now if I'd be surprised. He's actually, he took a while to revive it by the looks of things, or maybe he's busy getting back his Archmage first, I guess. And then Breath of Fire goes off there, takes down 2 Wisp, and then the mortar teams come in, really take down that Tree of Life quickly. And now we do have Nicker. Actually, I think he was focusing, he was focusing down his own Hippogriff with his Droids there for a second. Nicker without an expansion, though, will need to rebuild that as soon as possible. Maybe we can see some invisible mortar team shenanigans. That's always fun. It'll be interesting to see really how th wants to play this now that he knows he has an economic advantage. Looks like he's just going to re-engage, and he catches this Dark Ranger completely out of position. Silence being used in this panda to prevent a haze fire going off from keeping that Dark Ranger from getting away. Dark Ranger really needs to be on the run though, and there's these mountain giants. 3-2 upgrade now, 8 armor on those things, so nice. And it looks like this mountain giant actually being slowed as well. It's just so annoying. Obviously they do have slight spell immunity, but that just means that slow does still affect them, but just for less time. And it looks like Nicker now on the run, and these hippogriffs now will be able to do some damage finally against these flying machines because of the vastly better upgrades. Breath of Fire comes in, kills a bunch of wisps there, and we do not have level 6 on this panda. So nice by both players, but just so back and forth as well. These mountain giants in theory could just tank everything, but it's up to th to really pick a good battle, bringing in militia as well. Th clearly thinks this is going to be a very important battle here for him. Bear in mind, oh, look at this, Chimera is now being built as well. Very nice. They're going to take down the knights and the mortar team so quickly if you can get in. Finally, the paladin is back in the battle as well, and we do have level 2 on this Archmage as well. So, but Nicker just needs to be able to stay in this battle, and obviously with things like slow and without enough drives, he can be in a bit of trouble. There's only 1 Chimera roost, and so by the looks of things, it will take him a bit of time for him to actually get the siege upgrade. But at this point, that's not his big concern. He does actually use taunt yet again, but I think these flying machines were slightly out of the range, and they do now have the ability to attack ground with their flying machine bombs. But this is just such an imposing army by th, especially with the inner fire as well. Very, very tricky, because these knights then end up with 10 armor with no armor upgrades as well, which is just so daunting. Plus 10% damage, which is also very, very nice. And we do now have Storm Earth and Fire being used here by th. So much going on in these battles. We do actually have these mountain giants just doing some fantastic tanking. One of them has picked up a tree, but 2 of them have not. And it looks like that's all really Nicker ever built from those, with just a couple of them. And we do not have the paladin actually moving to the front, but it should be very, very wary of this. It does have a healing scroll, but healing scroll actually not too useful in this battle, just because he has so many mechanical units. Charm now being used by Nicker. We saw this used fantastically in game 1 to steal so many of th's units, but he does, in this time he does steal a mortar team. Mortar team actually can be very useful against all these casters, which is really all that's left here. And it looks like we do finally have a couple of units being taken out here from th's army now on the run. This paladin still only level 1, does use a healing scroll this time, but he's still not going to survive. He does use a holy at the last second though. And will we have any more units being taken out here? I'm amazed he doesn't have any sort of TP. No, he does have a TP. I'm amazed he hasn't used it then, because he's really lost his good position, which he absolutely needs. Silence now being used on this panda as well. I think against this army, just such huge damage from the chimeras and such huge tanking from the mountain giants with now 10 armor. Just, you need to be so wary of where you engage. This is actually a much better position for him to engage. A couple of drives being forced back, because bear in mind there is still a mortar team here. Mortar teams are just so good, and it looks like we do have taunt being used yet again, trying to get the focus off this one low mountain giant. It's just so gutting to lose a mountain giant, because it just costs so much money. It's so impressive that Nicker actually went for this. I'm very, very impressed just by his guts, if nothing else. You can tell he's definitely on the same team as th. They just are sharing this amazing creative zeal. And we do not have an ancient protector going up to trying to stop this tower rush, which is going on, this 24-minute tower rush. And there's Tree of Eternity now going to be able to take down these towers if he wants, or he can just try and root and rely on these the other units to take it down. Obviously chimeras take down towers so quickly, especially before they get that siege upgrade, because then they start doing really annoying types of damage, which don't do a bonus to to human towers, and it looks like this panda now in a lot of trouble. Does have to use it in pot. Does still have this healing scroll and a TP actually if he needs to use it, which I think at this point he really should. Look how quickly that level 1 water elemental goes down to 3 upgraded chimeras. It's just so absurdly quickly. This panda now down to very low health, does use the healing scroll, but still down only to 270 health, so does need to be very, very worried. Taunt being used yet again, but unfortunately no units in range, and taunt isn't too hard to negate, but you do need to be on top of things, and it is nice to use just in case they aren't paying attention. A lot of low hippogriffs here. Really, we do need to see some healing scrolls being used if the air battle becomes important yet again, but TH not engaging in that arena for a little while at least. Paladin now coming in, can get a healing off on this panda, which is going to be pretty important at this point. Actually, still a couple skeletons sitting around as well, but still they are only level 2 skeletons as opposed to level 3 skeletons, which are much more imposing. But obviously level 3 silence, so important against tri-heroes and then mass casters as well. Taunt being used yet again, but still this panda not being dissuaded. TH2 on top of things, invisibility being used on this panda as well to get him away, and he looks like he will be able to get away, but no, TH being so bold, staying in this battle for much longer than I would have thought he should have, but it looks like he will be able to maybe get off one more good breath of fire, maybe gonna try and hit some of these hippogriffs. That would be very, very nice if he could. He does almost have enough for a breath of fire and a haze if he can go for that, but we'll have to see what his choice is going to be. Looks like a couple wisps here being spread out actually, so TH can't even get a good breath of fire, just uses one to kill off one wisp, and TH now even going to not going to get that second kill because of that detonate, but Nicker not really pressed for lumber. 1300 lumber in the bank, meanwhile 6 gold in the bank, so really it's gold that's his big stressor at this point. And bear in mind that because Nicker actually lost his mind a couple of times, he could actually end up outmining TH in the long run. Only 1100 gold left for TH compared to 6000 left for Nicker, so Nicker needs to play for the long game. He needs to not be overly aggressive. He does have no gold in the bank, but he's at 70 food compared to 1300 gold in the bank, but 50 food for TH, so TH actually outmining Nicker for the moment, but there's just so much extra gold here that Nicker I think should, if he builds up to 80 food and then plays super defensively, maybe even puts down some Moonos here when he doesn't want to be pushing past 80 food, just so he can have super defense. I think that would probably be his best course of action at this point, but it looks like instead he's actually going to move out. I'm really surprised by this. Maybe because he has this stronger army, he thinks he should be pushing here, but I'm not entirely sure that's the best option. And these mountain giants, you can see they take a bit of damage, or they took 900 damage, and they still have a huge amount of health, but you can just never heal it back, and that's just the huge disadvantage. Meanwhile, the Dark Ranger maybe going to come in, steal one unit, and pop back out, but this needs to be very, very wary. The panda pops out of invisibility, slow being used on the Dark Ranger as well. Dark Ranger does need to be so careful. Was there a staff nearby? The Naga coming in. Oh, Naga's very far away. Will the staff go off in time? Looks like yes, it will. Very, very nice. Unfortunately, no breath of fire being used to slow it down too much, but it looks like now the Naga does need to run forward as well. No boots on this Naga, so the panda does need to really try and catch up, because really TH has a lot to do because he just doesn't have much left in his mind. Probably only has about a minute left worth of mining, and he is definitely on the run at this point. Really needs to oh, look at this taunt being used yet again. Panda though really so on top of things. Definitely not going to be caught out by that and accidentally go back to his army and then realize his panda's engaging on his own for a couple seconds, which can just be so bad in these sort of super tight, super tense situations. Look at this army composition. This looks like when Blizzard released the game, they probably thought this should be the late game army, but certainly absolutely never happened. So interesting though that TH is re-engaging in the air battle, which I'm a bit surprised by. I think he could have just said, well look, Nicker's sunk sort of so much money into these 6 hippogriffs here, that's 12 food he's just not going to get back, and I should just let him have that air dominance, but apparently he wants to be using flying machines to take out chimeras as opposed to, I mean, if he's going to go for air dominance, maybe something like Dragonhawk Rudders could even be better. I'm not entirely sure because it's just such an unusual situation here, and we do now have these mountain giants engaging yet again in a very good position where Nicker can't, where Nicker can hold the whole choke, and TH can't really get past him to get to those super squishy units. We do have one Sork now fighting for Nicker as well, which is so nice because that slow is so important. Just having one slow is so much better than having no slow, and we do now have a huge air battle happening now, and it looks like we do have the chimeras as well moving forward, managing to take down that paladin as well. And will this be the end here for TH, or will Nicker be able to keep on fighting? He does actually steal a breaker at this time. That's an interesting choice to steal that, because obviously as the mountain giants do a lot of tanking, and meanwhile we do have some more militia running down from the top by the looks of things, and it looks like we do have a healing scroll actually being used, and a protection scroll as well to keep these hippogriffs alive. Very, very important. And we do now have this Naga actually taking a lot of damage. Does need to be very, very wary of these earth elementals, which do so much damage. Nice micro here, looking like he's keeping all the super aggressors alive. Not too hard against all the, because most of the damage is area of effect from those flying machines, but still you do need to be very, very, very careful. Naga down to very low health. The staff is available to that Dark Ranger obviously as well. You do need to bear that in mind. Panda now being silenced a bit before he can actually use a Breath of Fire. A bit of a mistake there by Nicker, but Nicker still going to be chasing this down, but it looks like eventually he's going to turn around to try and take care of this. Oh, look at this, the Breath of Fire goes off this Naga now, taken down to very low health, and oh my god, it looks like this Panda might actually be able to close the distance here on him. Does need to be very, very careful. Yes, he does go down. Panda now hits level 7. Very, very nice, and this Naga level 7 goes down, but the Earthquake now on the run as well is only level 3, but still down to 13 health, and the Skeleton takes him down because of the slowing of that Dryad. Oh my god, this game is so intense, so crazy as well. Both players, Nicker now has a huge army, but there's this huge beastly Panda. He's going to deny the mining for a lot longer from Nicker, and Nicker really does need to get something done right now, basically, because he's lost his mining, and the heroes will be back for TH eventually, and we've seen what TH can do with just a couple heroes. They're using another Breath of Fire, taking out a couple Wisp, but one Wisp actually being staffed home. Just Nicker not keen to give any experience all the way to TH. He's probably not actually too concerned about the Wisp at this point, but actually looks like he was even silenced as well to keep any more Breath of Fire from happening. And we do now have TH in really not the best of positions at all. He really is going to need to rely on his heroes. He does have his Archmage back on the way. The Paladin is already ready to fight, but we do need to see Nicker doing some sort of push now before the huge army from TH can be built up. Even though TH doesn't have any army at this point, he can still do so much with so little, and the harassment of the Panda especially is just so dangerous with that staff as well. So I think Nicker's going to heal up. He's going to use all his moon juice, and that looks like that's what he's doing, and then he's going to push out. Bear in mind this Sork is master training, because that's what we talked about in the last game, or maybe it was the game before, I don't even remember. You do steal all of the sort of spell abilities and stuff like that when you steal a unit with charm, so he will be able to cast things like polymorph and invisibility if he wants to, but certainly slows the obvious thing to catch. And look at this Panda actually now being caught out, and maybe Nicker's going to be able to take this best of 3 with a convincing third game, with his hero now on the run, and TH without too much income, and without his third hero, and it's a weird third hero as well to have. Yes, he does. He GG's there. Nicker's going to take the game. An amazing, action-packed, crazy game there by both players, but really, in the end, Nicker was the true victor. He had a lot of gold left in the bank, so thank you all for watching this amazing best of 3. I do hope you all enjoyed, and thank you all for 3,000 subscribers as well, though I imagine by the time the third game's got out, it'll be well over 3,000 subscribers. So thank you all, and I'm going to enjoy bringing you more games in the future. Thanks, folks.